If you're wondering how or whether a Space Marine, or maybe a bunch of them, could take down a massive Titan, then you're in for a treat. As here we have extracted 7 tactics and strategies which are from the lore of 40k as to how these Astartes can defeat this massive god engine, how they can and have taken them down, and this won't include Sanguinius versus the Axis Mundi battle or with any other Primarch, but just their sons, the Space Marines. So let's get to it. The first tactic is boarding actions with infantry assists. So, as described in the Forge of Mars trilogy and with Ian Watson's novel The Space Marine, Titans are often taken down by Space Marines through boarding actions. However, since these massive god engines are well armed to the teeth and can incinerate whole companies of Space Marines in an instant, the tactic changes to include cannon fodder called the Imperial Guard or any other infantry forces to be used as bait, while the strike team of elite Space Marines then slip past through the void shields to board the massive Titan. See, if you're wondering how to get past the void shields, well, you should know that these force fields only deflect or transfer energy blasts and kinetic ordnance to the void if and only if these projectiles are fast enough. Slow-moving soldiers or stationary targets can pass right through, with no resistance at all. Thus, with the Imperial Guard or other forces serving as decoy and distractions, kill teams or squads of Space Marines, they pass and infiltrate the machine and take it down from within, maybe by destroying critical parts of the system, or in most cases by just slaughtering the crew and leaving the Titan still intact. Boarding teams can also include Primaris Reavers or Intercessors to board the Titan with grav chutes, or the jump packs, as the slow flight speed could easily penetrate the void shields. I bet the Raven Guard would have perfected this technique since the early Heresy period, after they've taken a bit of a break and a breather after that tragic Isfahan dropsite massacre that nearly wiped them out. So the second tactic is called the Titan Hammer Doctrine. Here we have Darnath Lysander, the first captain of the Imperial Fist, who forged the legendary Titan Hammer squads, which is a Space Marine formation and tactic used specifically to take down enemy Titans. So how this works is brilliant. By using his perfected teleportation tactics which he has learned through his countless expertise in assaults, he would essentially bring down the first company Terminators into action. Here he assembles elite Terminator assault squads from the first company, each a warrior who is armed to the teeth with thunder hammers and storm shields aside from their standard bolter ammunition, teleporting directly into the void shield envelopes of the traitor Titans. Lysander personally leads his warriors, bearing a vortex grenade from his flagship reliquary. With perfect timing, he hurls the vortex grenade into the Titan's hull, creating a seething warp tear that collapses its shields and breaches its armor. Through that molten wound, the Terminators storm inside, smashing through adamantium bulkheads, crushing demon machinery and destroying the Titan's plasma reactor, and slaying the corrupted crew and their princeps. This method was repeated with surgical precision against every enemy engine until the entire renegade Legio Unctado was reduced to smoldering ruins. From that day on, Lysander formalized the Titan Hammer Doctrine, which are these squads of veteran Terminators trained to teleport directly into Titan voids, breaching their hulls and crippled to destroy them from within. And this has been, since then, duplicated with other chapters of the Space Marines. The third tactic here are orbital strikes by void ships. So, the orbital strikes are amongst the most devastating methods that Space Marines employ against massive military formations if they have space superiority. Also used against Titans if the ground forces alone cannot bring down the god engines. In both the Horus Heresy cinematic trailer and the accounts of the Battle of Beta Garment 5, such strikes are portrayed as apocalyptic displays of coordination between Astartes' fleet assets and the surface assault forces, as Titan legions stride across the plains, shrouded by their void shields and escorted by columns of Skitarii. The Space Marines strike cruisers and battle barges in low orbit, unleash orbital lance batteries, plasma macro cannons and cyclonic torpedoes in a concentrated salvo. These weapons, designed to pierce the hulls of capital ships, can annihilate entire fortresses or tear apart a warlord Titan with a single direct hit once its shields have been destabilized. The Marines on the ground often act as spotters and saboteurs, use teleport beacons and Auspex triangulation techniques to mark shield gaps or expose reactor vents, timing the orbital barrage to coincide with moments when the Titan's void shields flicker from overextension. Once the void shield collapse, the beams strike home with pinpoint fury and accuracy, shearing through the armor plates and detonating the plasma reactors by pure firepower directly from orbit. The fourth tactic is using the Land Raider Terminus Ultras. These are specialized Titan hunters of the Space Marines, and these are notably used by the Ultramarines as described in the Imperial Armor Volume 2 2nd edition. The Ultramarines deploy the Land Raider Terminus Ultra not only in the most desperate or strategically vital engagements, but when facing enemy super heavy armor, or against smaller classes of Titans such as the Warhound Scout Titans or the Reaver Battle Titans. In such operations, the Terminus Ultra functions as a dedicated Titan hunter or a killer, using ambush and flanking tactics to exploit the Titan's limited maneuverability and its field of view. Typically, squads of Terminus Ultras lie concealed in urban ruins, canyons, or behind the cover of advancing infantry and smoke screens, waiting for a Titan to advance into a kill zone. Then in coordinated volleys, their 8 last cannons, which are 4 twin-link God Hammer pattern arrays, unleashes a devastating concentrated salvo of armor-piercing energy beams. The sheer volume of firepower from several Terminus Ultras can strip a Titan's shields in seconds and punch through its armor before it can return effective return fire. They are also outfitted with hunter-killer missiles and multi-melters for additional punch. In the current era where the Falcon tanks are all but extinct, the Terminus Ultras serve as the spearhead of the Ultramarine counter-Titans operations. Another tactic is using the terrain as a trap. This is a good tactic in urban terrain as seen in the Battle of Astagar, where the Ultramarines destroy the Felghast Warlord Titan. So the story in a nutshell goes like this. When the traitor host descended upon the city of Eurythmia Civitas, led by the demon-possessed Warlord Titan later known as Felghast, only 600 Ultramarines under Captain Lucretius Corvo and 70,000 Astargarian light rangers stood in defiance. The initial landings nearly overwhelmed the defenders, but Corvo saw the reason for this, and it was that they had a Titan being at the heart of the assault. He then ordered a feigned retreat through the city's narrow avenues. Then when the God Engine chases after them and was above the central plaza, charges placed along the subterranean tunnel network detonated, collapsing the entire plaza beneath the Titan's weight. The Demon Engine crashes forward, half-buried, bellowing in rage as it struggled to rise again. That was the moment Corvo unleashed everything. Shadow sought super heavy tanks from the Imperial Guard and concealed an ambush, and they fired repeated volcanic laser blasts into its head and the reactor housings, while the devastated squads and rapier batteries saturated the exposed hull with Melta and last cannon fire, which caused the massive war engine to break apart and explode. This battle would be a shining example of how Space Marines would use the terrain to the advantage against larger, nearly unstoppable foes. The sixth tactic is using Melta charges to destroy the Titan's legs. This is seen in the Word-Bearer's Omnibus. The traitor Astartes here show another brutal but effective way to bring down a Titan by not boarding it, but by crippling it where it stands. Instead of trying to destroy the massive war engine outright, the Chaos Space Marines use infantry assaults and ambush tactics to exploiting the same weakness the void shields allow slow or stationary targets to pass through. Under the cover of a massive ground battle, squads of the traitor Marines rush the Titan's legs, using debris, smoke, and the confusion of war to close in. Once beneath the shield envelope, they plant Melta charges and crack explosives at the Titan's knee joints, also on its hip actuators and power conduits, which are the weak points that keep the colossal machine standing or upright. The Melta charges burn through the armor like liquid sunfire, turning hardened ceramite and adamantium to slag. When they're all detonated together, the explosions collapse the Titan's leg structures, sending the war machine toppling into the earth and rendering it useless for the rest of the battle. The last tactic here is outmaneuvering it with assault bikes. Okay, daddy, chill. Here we have only Temur Khan of the White Scars who have done it. Remembered in legend as the Titan Slayer, he was a warrior whose life embodied the White Scars' creed of speed, daring, and the sacred joy of the hunt. From his earliest days as a scout, he first brought down a rampaging Chaos Hellbrood, which is kinda like a dreadnought but hellish, and he brought it down with a Melta charge. Then astride his bike, he hunted down many Elder Wraith Lords, which are ghost machines, essentially. He also destroyed 3 Defilers, which are demon engines, alone, as well as cracked open an enemy knight with his relic hammer called Knight's Bane. Yet it was on that final hunt during the Makarian Crusade that Temur Khan earned his immortality. So when a renegade warlord Titan threatened to annihilate the Imperial Third Army group, Temur Khan charged alone on his bike, outpacing its tracking systems and darting through the storm of his macro cannon fire. Exploiting the Titan Void Shield's limitations for slower moving targets, he then maneuvered his bike into the God Engine's Void Envelope and then boarded it. And for 14 minutes straight, he battled the defenders of the Titan and the crew, only ending with the Titan plasma reactor going critical and erupting in a cataclysmic blast that leveled several kilometers of terrain. When the firestorm subsided, only his Knight's Bane Warhammer, at least the holding part, the half, remained intact amidst the smoldering ruins, and Tamarkan's body was never found, but his name endures now amongst the White Scars as the hunter who brought down or brought low a god engine of war. And so from squads boarding the Titans to using Terminus Ultras and using Tamarkan, here we have the 7 tactics that Space Marines use to destroy Titans in battle. So that's the end of the video. Now, do hit that like button for support, and also the ones holding their phones in their hands, do hit the hype option to push this content further. It would be of great help to us. Also subscribe to be a part of Legion Notebook. Until the next time, take care, boys.